Hi, I'm Bonnie Barker with Bonnie Bay Crochet, but today I want to teach you how to knit something. This is the quick and easy ribbed headband, and it's really fun and easy to make, and it's a great project to start with if you've never knit before. Before I show you what you're going to need, if you could please hit that subscribe button, especially if you're a first-time visitor. And if you are a first-time visitor to my channel, I want to say welcome. And if you can hit that thumbs up if you like the project, that really does bless me. And don't forget to hit that notification bell so that you don't miss any of the new offerings coming your way. I've got a lot of things coming to this channel, including a crocheted version of this very same headband. And this is also a quick and easy beginner project. Well, let me go ahead and show you what you're going to need for the knit project. For this project, you will only need one ball of this Lion brand yarns. You will not even come close to using all of it, but this is the Wool Ease Thick and Quick. And let me give you some of the stats on this yarn. This is a 5-ounce ball of yarn, 140 grams, 87 yards, which you will not use that much, I promise. 8 meters, and this is a super bulky or number 6 weight yarn. For this project, I'm going to be using a pair of size US 15 or 10.00 millimeter knitting needles, and these are attached with a wire, as you can see here. Let me speak one thing about getting your knitting needles, especially if you are a brand new knitter. I purchased a pair from a popular store, and these were at a discounted price. And let me show you one thing. I don't know if you can see this, but the joins to these for the wire are grossly inferior. In fact, so much so that every time I use this first set of knitting needles, it snagged my yarn every single time. So as you go forward and try to learn knitting, I encourage you to find a quality set of needles, because this can make or break whether you want to continue on in knitting. So again, I just encourage you, and the ones that I prefer personally are made out of wood. You may want to find that metal is better for you, but either way, I just encourage you to invest in quality as you go forward in learning this craft. One other thing concerning the circular knitting needles is when they are measured in length, it is from the tip of one knitting needle around the wire to the tip of the other. The ones that I'll be using today are actually a little bit longer than are necessary. You could probably do fine with a 16-inch set. The ones that I'll be using were going to be approximately 26 inches long. And I will show you how to deal with that when the string is just a little on the longer side. I'll show you how to manage that. But if you have a smaller one, the smaller length for your circular needles, that would be perfectly fine. Some other things that are going to be handy as we go forward are a pair of sharp scissors. I always recommend a yarn needle for hiding those loose ends. And in this particular project, we're going to need some kind of a stitch marker. It really doesn't matter what kind. There are many different types out there, and quite frankly, if you don't have a stitch marker, you don't have to run out and buy anything. You can easily use a contrasting piece of yarn to mark your place. Now we're ready to begin. I've pulled off approximately 2 yards of material that we're going to be using for the cast on. Now that is a little bit extra than what we're really going to need, but it's better to have a little bit more than to run out. Okay, so we're going to make a slip knot, and the way we can do this is make a loop, and then the strand that goes to your yarn source or the yarn ball, pull that up through the center like this for your slip knot. Let me do that one more time in case you didn't catch that. You can go ahead, make a loop, and pull the yarn up through the loop, or however you prefer to make a slip knot. And we are going to slip this over one of the needles just like that, and go ahead and pull it so that it's tight. It should be not strangulation tight, but you don't want it to be floppy loose either, so just a comfortable tightness there. And we're going to take our thumb and our pointer finger, and we're going to put it in between the 2 strands like this, and then grab the rest with our 3 fingers like this. And then we're going to spread our fingers apart just like this, and we're going to be in the cast on. I'm going to be doing this a couple times, so you'll see how I place my hands on this. Well, let me just go ahead and do it one more time. Here is the yarn, and you're hearing the needles click around here down below. Okay, so put the fingers, the pointer and the thumb, in between the 2 yarn strands there. Grab the rest with these 3 fingers, bring these fingers apart, and now we're ready. We're gonna go up under, and then this we scoop down like this, and then we have 1 cast on. So what we're going to do is we are going to cast on 40 of these. We're not going to count this one because we're going to need this one to join our headband together. So we're going to actually need a total of 41 of these loops on our needles. So let's do that again. Scoop under and go down. That's 2. Under, over, that's 3, 4. We're going to do this all the way to 40. And once in a while you may need to just drop the yarn and let it twist back up again. Put your fingers in there, grab it below. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You don't want to do these too tight, so they should look about like this. Now, as your loops extend beyond the needle, don't worry about that. You can slide them down and they will retain their shape. I'm going to do a few more so it's past that, and you can, kind of speed up once you get the feel of it and get into quite a rhythm here. But I will slow down again. Again, stick the 2 fingers in there, grab the yarn sources with the other 3, open apart, scoop under, and then over to grab that other loop. I just wanted to show you what happens once I get enough loops on here to go past the length. Okay, so I'm actually past the size of the diameter of the needle, and these will just slide on the string. I know the string is hard to see because it's black on black, but it is there. So I'm going to go ahead and continue this until I have a total of 40 new cast-ons plus the 1. So I'm going to have 41 of these loops. As soon as I get that, I will show you what I have. Okay, I have finished. I now have 41 loops, and this is on the wire portion, and you can see how it still holds its shape. I think having a little bit of wool in the yarn helps this tremendously. And let me show you how much extra. Here it is. This is what I have extra, which is okay. So now we are ready to begin. So we're going to take the other needle right like this, and so what we need to do is we need to connect this end with this end before we begin. And obviously there's a lot of extra space here, so let me show you what we're going to do. We're going to condense the length of this. We're going to pull. I'm pulling on the wire, and we're going to pull. I'm pulling it out so that I can pull this other needle in, and you can easily twist this wire. Okay, so let's go ahead, and this is the important part, getting set up. You want to be careful that we don't twist the stitches as we do this. Okay, this is going to be the trickiest move of all. Once we get past this, it will get a lot easier, I promise. Okay, now for the yarn hold, let me speak into that for just a minute. Take the yarn that's obviously connected to the yarn source, and you can lay the yarn over these 3 fingers of your non-dominant hand, and if you grab with these fingers just like this, This will be like the brake command to help control how quickly the yarn is released. And if you turn your hand over, the pointer becomes, again, helps to feed the yarn, kind of like on your sewing machine. If you sew, it kind of, the string goes through the process and it helps to supply your yarn. And by pulling the finger up like this, helps to control how quickly the yarn is supplied. Now, the tall man and thumbkin, just like in crochet, they would be helping to hold the fabric. You're instead going to hold the needle. In that sense, this is very similar to crochet. Okay, so let's go ahead. We're going to knit the first stitch. And again, like I said, this is going to be a little bit slow and awkward at first. Okay, and you can actually hold this other strand back while we do this at first. Stick the needle in right here, wrap it forward, and pull a loop through and slide off the hook. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take the first strand that we used, the slip knot, and we are going to bring this, okay, it's right here. I'm going to actually do this with my fingers because it's going to be a lot easier. We're going to take this loop and we're going to pull it over the loop like this. And that way we are now connected in a circle. And as you work the first round or two, this will ease up, I promise you. Okay, so now we're going to begin. And before we do that, let's go ahead and start with a stitch marker. Now this stitch marker is going to be too small, of course. So I'm going to, let's go ahead and knit the first stitch, and then I'm going to mark that stitch. Okay, we're going to stick this knitting needle in, wrap forward, pull up a loop, and then we're going to pull it off our needle. And let's go ahead and, using it in this manner, I'm going to mark this stitch. That way we know it was the first of the round. Okay, now we're going to continue. So that was a knit stitch. Here's another knit stitch. Put the knitting needle behind the stitch like this, wrap forward, pull up a loop, and slide it off. Now we're going to do 2 purls. Purl, you're going to bring the yarn to the front. We were having the yarn back here. I'm going to just bring it in front of this needle to the front. Put the needle, you're going to come this direction. Let me show you again. The needle is going to come in this way, and then you put the yarn in between the 2 needles like this and pull it through like a loop and slide it off. We're going to do that again. The needle comes towards you, put the yarn in between the 2 needles, pull up a loop and slide off. Okay, now we're going to do 2 knits again, which, let's go ahead and push our yarn towards the end of the needle. It makes it a lot easier. Push the yarn, the needle in to the back side. Flip it forward, pull up a loop, and off, and do that again. Okay, now that's 2. Now we're going to do 2 purls. Come toward yourself. I automatically brought the yarn to the front side. That's very important. You come towards yourself and put the yarn in between the 2 needles, pull up a loop, and slide off. Again, like I said, this is the hardest round. And then we're going to do 2 knits. This is the hardest round because it's so tight at first. But after you get through these first 40 stitches and the next round, it really does loosen up significantly, and it really does become a breeze to do these stitches. And I'm going extremely slow so that you can see what I'm doing. I'm just alternating 2. Okay, I'm doing the knits again. 2 knits. And then now 2 purls. Bring the yarn in front, in between the sticks like that, in between the needles. Whoops, let's try that one again. Sometimes when you go so slow, it makes it a little tricky. So we can go ahead and spread these around. There we go. So we just did, so sometimes you might think, wow, what did I just do? I don't remember. When you see the little knobs in front like this, that was a purl. And when you see the little circles, almost like a chain stitch, those are your knit stitches. So we just did 2 purls, so it's time to do 2 knits. 1, 2. Now it's time for a purl, and I'm going to purposefully run out of yarn here. Okay, this is a purl. Just wanted to show you. So I run out of stitches, right? Not exactly. So what we're going to do now, we're going to bring this around. You can see where I started right here. So we're just going to pull. I'm pulling this strand, pulling it down so that you can just pull the stitches back on. Yeah, just like that. Okay, so I'm going to do another purl. We only did 1 purl that last time. So let's do another purl. Okay, now we're ready for another knit. Or 2. 1, 2. And 2 more purls. 1, 2. So I'm going to continue this all the way until I get to the stitch marker, and then I'll show you what to do once you get to that point. Let me show you what I've got so far. Okay, so I've knit and purled 2 knits, 2 purls all the way around, and here is the first stitch of the round. So let's take this out. We're going to go ahead and we're going to knit that next stitch, slide it off, and I'm going to mark it again. Now usually if you have smaller knitting needles, the stitch marker is usually, you know, big enough to just go around it, but I'm just marking that stitch. It works just as well, but I just may have to take it off each time. Usually you can just slip it from, you know, from needle to needle. So that was a knit. Let's do another knit, and I'm already finding that also by making this into like a triangle, it's much easier to work these stitches, but it's already eased up after that first round. So we're going to do 2 purls, 1, 2, and we are just going to do this around and around and around until we get the width that we desire. And I've done one of these before, and what we will do in this particular video is we are going to work this until we can count 11 rounds. So, and as soon as you do 11 rounds, alternating, you know, the knits and the purls, we will then work the round, which will bind everything off. And I will show you how to do that and how to hide the loose ends. Okay, now we're doing a couple purls here. Let me just do a little bit more of this in case some of you are absolute beginners. I want to make sure that you understand. Okay, so now let's look at this. Suppose that we pick this up and we don't know what to do next. Well, we see these are knit stitches here, so we're going to knit them. I know a lot of times in crafting, crocheting, and knitting, it's just identifying what you're doing is half the battle. Okay, the little knobby things here show you that those are purls, so we're going to do purls there. Let's go ahead and work another purl. Okay, let's just pause. And so you can kind of see what we're doing here. I know this colored yarn might actually make it a little more tricky, but I think you can still see that these are knits and these are purls. So I'm going to do a few more rounds, just going around in a circle continuously, and I'll show you what I have so that you can see the pattern that is emerging. After completing about 6 rounds, I just wanted to show you what the fabric should be looking like. And you can see the 2 knit stitches here as they make a column, and then the purls, the 2 knits and the 2 purls. Okay, so just continue that around until you can count. But you can count the knits here, one, or you can count the purls. However, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are 6 of those. So do that until you have 11. The 12th round will be the round where we bind off. Okay, I've completed 11 rounds and I've worked my way to where the starting of the row is. Let me show you how you can, again, how you can count these rows. I'm going to count the knit stitches, which are right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. If you wanted to count the purls, you can do the same thing. Let's see. Let's try with this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So either way, you can count. Now we are going to do what we call binding off. And since I'm going to be starting, I'm going to go ahead and flip this around to this side. Starting with the very first stitch of the round, we're going to go ahead and just take this off. We don't need it anymore. And if you didn't happen to have one of these, all you really needed to do was find where the first stitch began with the little tail that we have here. So let's go ahead and I'll show you how we do this. Now when we bind off, we're going to use a binding off method where we are going to purl off the purls and we're going to knit off the knits. And to do this, let's go ahead and knit the first one, do a knit, and then do the next one as well. So we're going to do the first 2 knits, and then now we take the first knit that we knitted off, we're going to pass it over the stitch like this. So that is bound off. Now the next 2 are purls. So let's bring the yarn forward. We're going to purl, and then we're going to pass this over this stitch. And you're going to want to do this a little on the loose side. You're not excessively loose, but you don't want it to be too tight. Okay, we're going to purl the next stitch and then pass the loop over. And as you do this, we're going to be, as we bind off, you're going to see more of a space here. Now we have 2 knits, so we're going to knit the stitch and again pass the loop over carefully. And let's do the next one. It's also a knit, and then pass it over. And we have 2 purls, so let's go ahead and purl these. Pass the loop over, and then the next one is also a purl, and slip, and then pass the loop over. So you can see the edge. So I'm going to continue this all the way around, then I'll show you the last stitch or 2 and what to do once we complete this. So let's do one more. Do a knit and pass the loop, and then do another knit and then pass the loop over as we bind this off. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and finish, and then I'll show you what I have. Now I only have a couple of more stitches to go, and I wanted to work them with you. They are purls, so let's go ahead and work these 2 off carefully, and one more. Okay, so let's go ahead and pull this up before we deal with this. And this is what we have. And by using the knit and then the purl bind off, it helps to have the edging go along with the ribbing of the pattern. So this is going to be so nice. Okay, so now we do have to finish it off here. We're not entirely done. So what we are going to do, I'm going to have you pull through one more loop like this. And we'll need to get our trusty scissors. Here they are. They're playing hide and seek with me here. And I'm going to cut off a generous strand. I've got plenty of yarn left, so let's just go ahead and do that. And so now what we need to do is we need to connect. Let's go ahead and loosen this a little bit. And we're going to use our yarn needle like so. Thread that through there. Even though it's thick, it should fit nicely in there. So now what we're going to do, we're going to look at the way this loops in on top, and the first stitch is right here. So we're going to go through that first stitch like this and go ahead and bring it into this one. Just like that. Now this particular project is reversible. In other words, either side can be the front side. So you're going to have to be a little careful on how you hide your loose strands. So let's say we're going to go ahead and hide them right here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to bring it over here a little bit further just for security. And I'm going to run the strand around the stitches like this. Let's go ahead and pull these through so you can see how that looks. So you really can't see it when you work it like this. And if there are crocheters out there watching this, yes, it's a little trickier to hide the loose threads in knit than it is with crochet. Crochet just tends to have more fabric in which to hide our loose strands in, which I absolutely love. So let's do that. And I've turned it around on you. So I'm going to actually go up through here. I'm going to go a little bit further with my hiding of the loose ends. I could just fasten it off there if I wanted to. So I'm going to twirl the opposite direction with my needle. Okay, let's just do that. Okay, I could go all the way up, but I think that might be a little bit of an overkill. So let's go ahead and we're going to clip this close, but make sure you don't clip the seam. And you see how that, and because this has a little bit of wool in it, this is going to felt a little bit together. Okay, and we have one more strand to hide, and I'm going to do the same thing with this. I'm actually may work it over onto this other side and go up one side and down the other so that this will be absolutely hidden within the work. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then we will be completely done with this project. And just for the record, the ball of yarn that I showed you at the very beginning has enough to make 2, possibly 3 of these, or at least 2 this size and maybe a smaller one as well. So it's a good value for your investment. I hope you enjoyed making the quick and easy ribbed headband with me today. And if you're looking for more knit projects that are quick and easy and fun to begin with, please check out the video listing in my video description below. I have an entire playlist of these that you should check out. Well, God bless you all. Bye-bye.